Let's go across to Colin Furness, infection control epidemiologist. He's joining us now. Thank you so much for your time, Colin. Appreciate it. So let's make a start with what we are hearing in terms of Health Canada, Ontario, Quebec. Everybody's talking about the rise in cases, a triple threat of sorts. Explain to us, this is just the beginning of winter, Colin. What can we expect by the end of the year or early next year?
This is so unprecedented. I think we have to be very careful trying to extrapolate. RSV, which is a major culprit right now, typically peaks around now. So if in a normal year, this is RSV season, and then it tapers off, does that mean that flu might then actually pick up? We have seen a lot of flu, but we haven't seen a lot of hospitalization from it yet. And a big piece of this is the question why are so many children being hospitalized? And that's complicated. It probably has to do with immune system harm, but that in of itself is going to take quite a long time to try and figure out. So I'm concerned. I do feel, yes, we're at the beginning of the season and it's already so bad. It won't necessarily get a lot worse. The problem is that it could.
It could. So let me ask you about the other question here. We've heard from doctors across provinces talking about the fact that it's important to have the mask back, Colin, but provinces, of course, saying there will be no mandates per se issued. We've heard, of course, from Quebec, from Ontario, from Alberta. Your take on this entire conversation around the mask?
I think to do this issue properly, we need a time machine. We need to go back several months. We need to educate the Canadian public to understand what an N95 mask is and that works, and that a lot of other things that people are trying to wear don't work nearly very well. So we have a public that is probably, even if they were compelled to wear a mask, might well be putting on the wrong kind of PPE. So I think we've got really bad public messaging, really bad public education, and if we bring back a mask mandate without that kind of education, we're going to see social violence. We know this. There's a lot of violent opposition to mask wearing. A lot of people are not concerned about kids in the ICU. 3 had to be resuscitated, so died and had to be brought back at Geo. That is just in one day. A lot of people just don't care. They don't make the connection. So we failed to educate. We have failed to make people connect and realize what the situation is that they're in. And to simply say, now you must wear a mask, without people understanding why, it's going to lead to violence.
Okay,
do we need... Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying so we have failed to educate where masking is concerned. But let me ask you, masks, of course, being one major part of the story. Apart from that, Colin, what else is that individuals can do easily to try and tame this triple threat?
Well, individuals can plug HEPA filters in their homes. Just because someone walks in the door at home with a respiratory illness does not mean that it needs to be transmitted to everyone in the household. Portable HEPA filters are easy to acquire. You plug them in. You need to vacuum them out occasionally. You need to change the filter once in a while. But that will help for allergies and colds and COVID and flu and RSV. My house is full of them. We have one in every room, and we have never felt better. The air quality in our house is fantastic. So it does take some money. I wish there were government subsidies for this. There ought to be. This is too important to ignore and too important to say to people who don't have the financial means, tough luck. So I wish we had a way of making this equitable, but managing air quality would be the thing to do.
Okay, we know that this is now an epidemic as described by Health Canada, and most of the people being affected are kids. Colin, do you believe the fact that, of course, the lack of exposure in the last 2 years because people were masking up, but a shortage in medication also is contributing a lot to the entire problem here?
Well, so let's unpack that. The fact that people have been masked and not getting sick for 2 years does not make people's immune systems weaker. The immune system simply doesn't work that way. We have kids who were born in the last 2 years who may not have been exposed to as much as they would have already, so there's some deferred immunity. But the idea that masking or somehow protecting ourselves from getting sick makes us weaker is simply not true. We're going to need more data to really understand what we're experiencing right now.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Colin Furness, always great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.